All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. I think everyone knows how this works now, so we'll just jump right in. Patrick Saunders, go ahead with the first question.
Good morning, buddy.
Morning, Patrick.
We were talking to Mags yesterday about a variety of hitters. It's a terrific interview. He was very enthusiastic and complimentary of Sam Hilliard. And I'm curious, have you guys plotted out the possible ways you might use Sam going forward in 2020?
Well, I'm going to echo, excuse me, I'm going to echo Mags's thoughts. I mean, we're bullish on Sam. We really like, his potential, long term and even here in the short term. I think he's made some great strides, over the last year, and it's good to see. He's working great. Some of the things that we're talking about, with his swing and with his, approach, we're seeing, we saw a little bit of it last September, and we're seeing it a little bit now in practice. I think time will tell. I mean, we're talking about all our guys, as you know, but we know that, Sam brings us, a number of attributes to the field. Defensively, I think he's going to be in time an above average defender. He can run. I think his routes and his breaks are improving. He can cover a lot of ground, especially in this ballpark. The arm's improving. So defensively, it really plays well. Like I said, especially here. Offensively, big power. I mean, there's as much power as anybody on our team. You put him right up there with anybody as far as just raw power. And that's dangerous to the opponent, every time he steps in the box. And we saw a couple big swings last year. But I think as far as this year, Patrick, I mean, we'll see how that plays out the next couple weeks. But I would like to think that he could be a contributor. I mean, we feel as though with Charlie and Tapp and Dahl, potentially Kemp, the Hampson Owings combo, if they pop out to the outfield, we have some guys that are going to help us. But he's getting, he's not a finished product, but he's getting there. He's working hard to become that finished product. I don't know whether anybody's ever a finished product. You've heard me talk about Greg Maddux when I had him at 42 years old in San Diego. I mean, he was still learning and wanting to get better. So, but we're excited about the future with him and what he could do, not only this season but years to come.
Thank you.
Thomas Harding, go ahead.
Good morning, buddy.
Morning, Thomas.
We talked to Herman some yesterday, and I've talked to him in the clubhouse. Obviously, he's getting more comfortable with the language here, but what I wanted to get from you was, what do you see out of him as far as some of the leadership qualities? I know that he has really been a good sounding board for Senzatella. I mean, it just seems like his mental approach is very good in this game. When you guys sit down and you talk ball, what are you getting, and what you see him growing into?
I mean, the conversations now have like I think I mentioned yesterday, the conversations have changed now to really this, when we're talking pure pitching, it's, the strategy of getting guys out and working your way through an inning or working your way through a lineup. Some of the discussions about delivery, emotional control, poise, pitching to the count, all these things are sort of, have been accomplished. But now we're seeing, him getting, I think, each and every outing, just more polished as a pitcher. Away from the lines, you're seeing consistency in character. You're seeing work ethic, routine. You're seeing him just dependable. If I ask him to do something as far as taking a group of 3 or 4 pitchers and leading in a PFP drill, he's there. If I need him to talk to Mujica or talk to a young Latin pitcher, he's stepping up and doing that. He and Sensa have really, formed a great bond here over the last couple of years. But I think he's relishing the role of a player with 3 years of service time and coming into his own and taking on that responsibility of truly being a big league starting pitcher. And I think the group of, John, Kyle, Sensatella, and Herman, it's a good group that are really confident in where they are and what they can do as a group. And Herman's in a lot of ways leading that charge.
To follow up on that, do you find that obviously around the game, he had a great year last year. I mean, he was leading the league in innings pitched. He was up there in wins, strikeouts before you guys shut him down. Do you think that around the game people know that this guy is a real threat at the front 1 or 2 of your rotation?
No doubt. Talking to other managers, coaches, executives, they know talent when they see it. And Herman has exhibited that over his 3 years. He doesn't get, a lot of the national acclaim that other pitchers get. But inside the circles of the people that I communicate with, he's right there with the big boys. And to your point, last year what he did statistically is right up there with the best. Right, it's right up there with the DeGroms and the Coles, the Verlanders in the other league. Our league with Bueller and Kershaw. The big boys, man. He's right up there with them, and it's great to see the growth. And I still think there's more in there too. There's still some again some finishing touches there with Herman, but they're just I don't want to say little things, but they're just things that they're not big. Put it that way. They're not big problems.
And finally, the way spring training was going, we were sensing that he was kind of putting himself in line for that opening day start, that leader of your rotation, the number 1 on the first day. Do you consider him that?
I can, are you asking me if he's starting opening day?
Well, opening day of this season, I don't know if it's going to be, but yeah, is he starting opening day?
That will come soon enough, Thomas. But
okay,
but he's in the mix.
Thanks, buddy.
And you wouldn't be off base if you were to, talk about that possibility.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Kevin Henry, go ahead.
Hey, buddy. Good morning.
Morning, Kevin.
You mentioned Mujica a moment ago, and I wondered if you could kind of give us an update on what you're seeing from him. And coming off Tommy John surgery and the stop-start with spring training, has that had any effect on his progression?
Well, yeah, I think it's natural that you're going to have, not the season that you hope for as far as the progression, but, it hasn't, hurt anything physically as far as, where his elbows, it's probably helped him, right? The only thing that we've missed is the repetition and him, competing and improving, on his craft. But there's a lot to like. I think there's strength to the body. He's young. There's arm strength. There's a feel for a changeup. The thing that we would have liked to seen through if we would have played an entire season is we're going to be able to work on the breaking ball a little bit more. But the fastball change combination is quality. We improved that breaking ball. I think we'll have 3 very good major league pitches. But there's a poise to him. There's a confidence for a young pitcher. He seems relaxed, but yet intense at the same time, which is a good combination. So there's a lot to like. I mean, he's built like a starting pitcher. I mean, I think he has a chance to be durable. He has a chance to make starts. He has a chance to, amass innings. So we're excited about that.
Thanks, buddy.
Any other questions for Bud Black? I'll wait a second to see if anyone raises their hand. All right, three more, excuse me. We'll start with Kyle Newman.
Hey, buddy, Tyler Kenley, kind of an unknown maybe to Rockies fans still, but what do you really like about him just from what you saw in spring training 1, and where do you see him fitting into the bullpen this year?
Yeah, it's I'm glad you asked about Tyler. We saw him from the other side when he was with the Marlins. Our scouts, were high on him. We had good grades and good reports on him. We saw him a couple years ago pitch against us, and I liked the arm, I liked the slider, I liked the velocity. And then when we acquired him, seeing him up close, just on the talent level, it's a firm fastball and a really hard slider. Slider in the high 80s, touch 90, with good depth to it. Again, I think here's another guy with a really good head on his shoulders, who can, I think, handle pitching late in the game as far as the pressure part of it. I think he's a clear thinker. He's poised. He knows his game. So we're excited to have that arm, part of our group. Again, I think, great worker, great work ethic, talent. I think he's, ready to put it together. I mean, a full season of, good pitching. Obviously not going to happen this year as far as a full season, but moving forward, I think where he is age-wise, a little bit of major league service time. I think he knows what his game's all about and how that translates into performance for him in the big leagues.
And then quick follow-up to that, is he one of the guys, or maybe who are some other guys who are you looking to be maybe those middle reliever bridge guys, especially early in the season as you're building up your starters?
Yeah, he's in that. I mean, he's in the mix to make the team. For sure. I think that again, depending on how many pitchers we keep, from the start, he's in that mix, and maybe he's in that mix to continue based on performance. If we have to pare down that pitching staff, but there's a lot to like for sure. But he's in the mix. Daniel Bard, Tim Collins, Pezos, Philip Deal. Those guys are all in the mix, as sort of those, sixth inning on relievers that if we need to get an inning out of each one of those guys, they can do that. We talked about it a couple of days ago, some of the length that we have with, some of the starters that, might not be in the rotation, whether it's Hoffman, whether it's Chi. We have enough length out there to, cover some innings, but Tyler's in that mix with a number of guys to make our roster.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
Hey, Grok, go ahead.
Yeah, buddy. Speaking of, did you get to see Daniel Bard throw live BP yesterday? And if so, what was your takeaway?
I did see him. I try to make a point to watch all our players when they practice, and I liked what what I saw. I mean, it was coming out. It's coming out good. We had a radar gun on him. I think it was 93 to 95, and showed some really good sliders. Whipped out a changeup, I think, to Hampson. That was a really good pitch. I like the comments when the players come back and we sort of talk about our pitchers and their stuff and their arm angle and their deception. All these things that we talk about down when we're down there gathered. And there's a lot of really positive comments about Bard yesterday from our guys. But again, he's another guy that we're excited about. I'm happy that he's a Rocky, and I think he's again ready to get back on board of a successful big league career. So I was encouraged yesterday. He'll be back out there again either tomorrow or Friday in a another one of those types of simulated games. We have another one today, as you guys are probably aware of, about a 5-inning game. So all these guys are now, after a couple side sessions, a couple bullpens, they're going to start facing our hitters, and the hitters want that as well. So that's a good thing.
Well, and with Daniel, his time in spring camp was really short. is that maybe less a problem with him because of his experience? I mean, does he seem behind?
Yeah.
Or
I think so. Because again, it goes back to his makeup, his aptitude, his head, is a, bright guy, really easy to talk pitching with, good listener, all the things you look for. So a guy you can feel comfortable with, in a lot of ways. Besides the arm. Now, ultimately, like all these guys, it's performance game. You have to get your outs and make pitches and throw strikes. But there's a lot of great things leading up to his potential to do that.
awesome. Thank you.
We'll go to Patrick Saunders, and then we'll finish up with Thomas Harding.
Hey, buddy, I had a conversation with Ubaldo Jimenez, and he has decided, or he told me he's not ready to retire. He still wants to hang in there and see if he can give another shot. Can you just share what did you guys see from him in the limited time in spring training? I know the numbers weren't particularly good, but it was also only a few outings.
Yeah. I'm glad that he's, willing to keep going. I think that's great. I know that this year, we were excited to, for him, to give it another crack because he's such a great guy. Obviously you guys knew him long before I did as a guy and a Rocky, but he came to camp with open eyes and a willingness to do what we felt and what he felt he needed to do to get back to potentially as a big leaguer, and that was eventually maybe going to Albuquerque and getting back on track after not pitching for a couple years, especially as a starter. I mean, it's tough to lay off that amount of time and come back. But again, the delivery looked in his unique delivery, it looked like he was repeating his delivery. His arm stroke looked like I remembered it. I still think that he was building arm strength through the spring, and that was probably going to improve if we did get underway and had a regular full season. I think that would have been, really helpful for his comeback. But the fastball, around 90. The slider and the split combination at times showed big league quality. He just needed the repetitions of this season. And it's just unfortunate that we got shut down in March, for what length, 3+ months for him not to, get those reps. But again, he'll go at it again this winter, prepare for spring training, and we'll see where that takes him. But I'm happy for him that he wants to keep going. That shows that there's drive and there's desire to keep going, because a lot of times you get to that age and it sort of wears out. But I'm glad that he still has that fire to get after it. It's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, Thomas Harding.
Okay, buddy. First, to follow up on the question Kyle asked, when you saw Tyler Kinley, does that slider remind you in some ways, maybe not as extreme, but in some ways of Ottavino? I mean, that's a biting pitch.
Sort of a different type of breaking pitch. Ottavino had the big sweeping slider with, a lot of revolutions and a lot of, bigger breaking slider, sort of a crossfire, lower arm slot, side to side sweeping slider. Kinley's is more a high 3/4 release with downhill plane, and his slider sort of breaks down with some tilt to it. So not really the same type of slider, no.
Yeah, just seemed. I was thinking even in degree of movement downward. There's a lot.
Not so. Otto had one of the, and still does, has one of the biggest breaking balls in baseball, as far as the the width of the break. So not really similar to Otto.
Okay,
his is more like Kinley's is more like at the very top end a Rob Nen or Brad Lidge type slider.
Okay. You knew it was a good pitch. As far as catchers are concerned, obviously the schedule can get pretty intense. Do you early on consider three, or is that too many early
No.
in the schedule?
Definitely considering it.
And do you know if Diaz is going to get on the field today? Or
I don't know whether today, hopefully, I don't think today, hopefully tomorrow.
Okay.
Hoping.
Yeah, but you've got three guys who have played, a bit in the major leagues between Tony, Butera, and Diaz. So does that kind of feel like you're in a good spot with catching if you want to go with those guys?
I think so. Yeah. And hey, listen, Dom Nunez, came up last year and was up for, part of August and all September. And Dom showed some good things too. And Dom's, coming into his own as far as his confidence of being a big leaguer. He's worked his way through the minor leagues every step of the way, every level. He's been in our big league camp now for 4 years. He saw a couple big swings with some power from the left side. And we talked about it last year. Really like the way Dom receives the ball, like his pitch calling, like his confidence and calmness. The pitchers like throwing to him. So he's getting to that stage in his career where, he feels as though, he can play in this league, and that's great. So, don't discount Dom either as a guy who could potentially help us through this season.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, guys.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys.